So hello and welcome to What's New in Entering and Approving Timesheets. My name is Ivan Koletic and I'm a product manager in Business Central team. Today I will take you through a very short agenda of the improvements that we've made in timesheets area. It basically evolves around how to get more and how to be more productive while entering a timesheet, whether you're a technician or a team member, and how Business Central is actually helping managers be more productive in approving timesheets. So the first section of this presentation is about getting productive while entering timesheets. So the first thing that you want to do when you work with the timesheets, you want to spend as less time as possible trying to figure out what is the current timesheet that I want to do. So the self-service part, which is part of almost all of our role centers, now has a new tile. It also has a new action that takes you directly to a current timesheet that is based on the work date that is set in the product. What you can see, there's a new tile with the name New Timesheets, which contains all the timesheets where you don't have any lines entered that you haven't started working on yet. To avoid errors and easily spot missing values, we've actually made submit and reopen actions context aware, so that you don't get in the situations where the errors are thrown where they shouldn't be. The status column on the timesheet lines right now has a conditional formatting. It's going to be red and italic if there is some required data that is missing to be entered before the timesheet can be submitted. To save you further effort and time while entering timesheets, what you will see is there's a set of columns in the timesheet lines, like project, project task, cause of absence, chargeable, and so on. These are all the columns that are still and were available as part of the activity details, but there's a small caveat to them. These columns are now basically dependent on your company's setup. So in case you haven't set up causes of absence or you're not working with projects, these columns are not going to be shown, thus removing the clutter from the timesheet line. Showing columns based on the setup has following benefits. It makes the timesheet much easier to read, much easier to understand, and it actually reduces time while entering timesheets, because you can use keyboard shortcuts to easily copy values from the previous lines. To make timesheet entry even more efficient, we've also added extended capabilities of copying timesheet lines from your previous timesheets. It's not only the last one that you've entered, but we've now provided you with an options to choose from either open or submitted timesheets and to pick the lines that you want to copy to your current timesheet. Another thing to note is in all of the places where you will see timesheet lines, we have added a timesheet lines details fact box, which actually allows you to go and peek into the data and the comments that are related to details of either resource or the project or the tasks that you have been adding to the timesheet lines. There's one tip in here. So, for example, if you pick the first line in the timesheet lines page, the Business Central will ask you whether you want to copy the full timesheet or you just want to copy the selected one. The default being only the selected one. And now let's switch to the demo. So in this demo, I will play a role of Terry, who might be a technician, a project team member, filling in one of his chores, filling in the timesheets. So what I want to show you today is how we actually help Terry enter the timesheets. As I mentioned before, with a new timesheet experience, Terry actually gets this new tile that takes him directly to his current timesheet. Here is the new tile that actually lists all the timesheets that don't have lines that have been prepared by his manager, and here are the timesheets that he has in progress. So let's take him to the current timesheet. What you can see in here are the reopen and submit buttons now being disabled because there are no lines that Terry has entered. The status field of the lines is also conditionally formatted, indicating that there is something that needs to be entered in order for Terry to proceed. What Terry will do in here is he will just go and utilize one of these cool new features of copying the timesheets from the previous one. And in here you can see that he can pick whether he wants to see all of his timesheets, only open ones, or the ones that have already been submitted. So he will go and copy these 2 timesheets. And what you can do in here is, for example, if he wants to add an extra line, this is now much easier because he can use F8 keyboard shortcut to simply copy the details from the previous line and enter them. Another cool thing to note in here is if there is some comment, since he has copied the lines together with comments, these things are also going to be shown in the timesheet details fact box, and you can also see that there are some additional information about the selected project and selected task that exists in here. And now that all of the details have been entered, you can actually see that a submit button has now been enabled. In this way, sort of avoiding an error to happen unless there are all the details that are needed for the timesheet to be submitted, and thus lowering the time that is needed for the timesheet to be entered. And to summarize the demo, what you saw in here are the new tiles that were introduced to enable easier entry of the timesheet and focus on them. You also saw how easy it was for Terry to copy the timesheets from previous ones, and you also saw these context-sensitive submit and reopen buttons that help Terry submit timesheets without encountering any errors. The next section of this session is more focused on the manager and on approving timesheets. So one of the things that we've noticed while looking at our telemetry is there's a lot of errors where that get produced by the empty lines in the timesheets. And for that purpose, what we've decided to introduce was a time submission policy. In some cases, it is perfectly okay to have an empty line. In some cases, it's not. So in order to keep the backwards compatibility, we've introduced an extra setup where you can actually say, where you can actually choose whether the empty lines are simply skipped and not submitted, or you want to keep the existing behavior where the system will stop and warn you if there are empty lines before you submit the timesheets. Project managers now have way more detail in their manager timesheet by jobs or by projects available while approving timesheets. You can now see a resource number, and the resource name you can actually bring through the personalization window if you want to add it to manager timesheets by projects. You will also see that some of the projects have work that is executed in Saturdays and Sundays, so these columns have also been added. We've also added a total column per line, so you can actually, that summarizes all the work that has been done for a specific projects. And on top of that, we've also brought in this timesheet line details that you already saw me present in the previous demo, but also for the project manager, we also surface the comments that might have been entered in the timesheet header, as well as the comments that are related to timesheet lines. There's also another thing, another improvement that has been done while approving or rejecting timesheets. We have actually changed the default when you approve a selected set of timesheets. The default setting of approval is only for the selected timesheets. That sort of avoids, we got feedback that sort of ensures that less mistakes are made and there is less turnaround in the timesheets when they are getting approved. And the best way to show it is actually to see it in action. So in this demo, I'm playing the role of Terry's manager, and he as a manager, when looking at a period, sees a set of timesheets that are pending his approval. what you can see in the timesheet window, at a glance, TRS Manager has way more details based on which he can decide whether a timesheet needs to be approved or not. So for example, you can see the resource number, you can see Saturday and Sunday, you can see the status, the total quantity for a specific line. And he can also see the timesheet comments that might have been related or added on a full timesheet, together with specific timesheet line comments and additional details that are related to a project or a task that a specific timesheet relates to. Another thing that you will notice, you can also open the timesheet card from here to go, and if you want to do sort of a one-by-one look at the timesheets. But if you do want to approve them in bulk, you can always select them from here and say go, and let's approve those things. And in this demo, you've seen the new improvements that we brought to manager timesheets for projects. You see extra information that managers now have to help with approving timesheets. And we also saw some of the extra fields that they can add through personalization to get even more insight and to get faster in approving timesheets. And that sort of brings us to the end of this session. There are two other relevant sessions if you want to learn more, and that are very related to the timesheet management. These are the sessions on what's new in service management and what's new in project management. Both of these modules actually use timesheets to record the time that was executed, either servicing a product or executing executing a project. And if you do want to learn more, if you want to connect with us, have some questions, or simply want to join the conversation and influence what and how Business Central evolves in this area, please use these links to do so. And with that, I want to thank you for your time and your attention.